$1,500. That's the number that might be silently draining from your household budget this year. And most people have no idea it's happening. Today, we're putting a precise dollar figure on how trade policy is reshaping what you pay for groceries, appliances, and vehicles. This is Money Moves Daily. I'm going to break down exactly where these costs are hiding, which products are seeing the biggest price jumps, and what you can actually do about it. Here's what nobody is telling you about the prices at your local store. The tariffs businesses absorbed last year? That buffer is disappearing fast. Companies that swallowed 80% of those costs in 2025 are now passing them along, and your wallet is the final destination. The Peterson Institute for International Economics warns that inflation rising above 4% by the end of 2026 is, quote, arguably the most likely scenario. Let's start with the number that matters most, what this actually costs you. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods. When the government adds a 25% tariff on steel, someone pays that extra cost. Eventually, it's you. Throughout 2025, businesses played defense. They squeezed margins, renegotiated supplier contracts, and ate the added costs to keep customers. That strategy had an expiration date. Now the inventory bought before tariffs kicked in is running out. Warehouses are restocking at the new, higher prices, and those costs flow straight to checkout. According to the Yale Budget Lab, tariffs amount to an average tax increase of $1,500 per U.S. household in 2026. That's not theoretical, it's real money leaving your pocket. That figure breaks down to roughly $125 every single month. Think about what else that money could do: retirement contributions, grocery upgrades, and emergency fund buffer. The January 2026 inflation report showed consumer prices up 2.4% annually, actually the lowest since May. But that calm is temporary. Morningstar forecasts inflation will rise to 2.7% through 2026 as tariff costs hit consumers. Goldman Sachs expects a 0.3 point increase in just the first 6 months. Here's where it gets concerning. Businesses absorbed roughly 80% of tariff costs in 2025. That absorption rate could shrink to just 20% this year. What does that math actually mean? It means 4 times as much of the tariff cost flows to consumers compared to last year. Prices that seemed stable are about to move. This delayed effect catches people off guard. They see stable prices through 2025 and assume the tariff threat was overblown. The lag is ending now. Durable goods, your vehicles, electronics, and furniture, are expected to rise a cumulative 4.5% through 2027, according to the St. Louis Fed. Non-durable goods, the everyday items you buy regularly, face even steeper increases at 5.6%. That's your cleaning supplies, clothing, and household basics. Energy costs compound the pressure. Utility gas service prices jumped roughly 10% annually in January 2026. Your heating bill feels it even before tariffs add more. Let me walk you through exactly which products are getting hit hardest. This matters because smart purchasing decisions start with knowing where prices are moving. Electronics lead the vulnerability list. Smartphones, laptops, and televisions rely heavily on imported components. The supply chain runs through Asia, and tariffs target those routes directly. Vehicles are especially exposed. Modern cars contain thousands of components from multiple countries. Steel tariffs hit the frame, electronics tariffs hit the dashboard. It compounds. Furniture imports face significant tariff exposure. That couch you're eyeing? If it's made overseas, expect the sticker price to reflect the new reality soon. Not everything is equally affected. Domestically produced goods face less direct tariff pressure. Services, haircuts, streaming subscriptions, gym memberships operate outside the import tax structure. Harvard Business School research confirms that tariffs increase prices, and that increase tends to be sticky. Once prices rise, they rarely come back down even if tariffs ease. This is crucial to understand. Tariff-driven inflation isn't like a temporary supply shock. Businesses adjust pricing structures permanently. The new floor becomes the standard. The Peterson Institute warns of compounding pressures, fiscal expansion, tighter labor markets from immigration policy shifts, and upward drifting inflation expectations. Tariffs add fuel to that fire. The Federal Reserve faces a difficult balancing act: cut rates to support economic growth or hold firm to combat tariff-driven inflation? There's no easy answer. Lower-income households bear a disproportionate burden. They spend a higher percentage of income on goods versus services, making them more exposed to tariff-driven price increases. When you spend 60% of your income on necessities, a 5% price increase hurts more than when necessities represent 30% of your budget. The math is unforgiving. Core CPI, which strips out volatile food and energy, hit 2.5% in January. That's the lowest reading since April 2021. But core measures may not capture the tariff surge coming. Here's the timing that matters. Pre-tariff inventory typically lasts 6 to 12 months depending on the product category. That buffer started depleting in late 2025. By mid-26, most retailers will have cycled through their cheaper inventory. That's when the price increases become unavoidable. The calendar is working against consumers. CNN Business reports that many businesses are already planning further price hikes throughout 2026. The question isn't whether prices rise, it's by how much. So, what can you actually do? Let's talk strategy. These aren't panic moves, they're practical adjustments based on where prices are heading. First, consider accelerating major purchases if you're already planning them. A refrigerator you'll need next year may cost more in 6 months. Run the numbers now. If you're in the market for a vehicle, the calculus has shifted. Waiting for a better deal may mean waiting for higher prices. Research current inventory carefully. Second, build a larger emergency fund buffer. Financial advisors historically suggest 3 to 6 months of expenses. Given inflation uncertainty, leaning toward that 6-month mark makes sense. Third, audit your recurring expenses. Subscription services, memberships, and automatic renewals add up. Cutting $50 monthly offsets almost half the tariff impact. Fourth, explore domestic alternatives. American-made products bypass import tariffs. The price difference that once favored imports may narrow or reverse. Compare before you buy. Fifth, use cashback credit cards strategically on categories seeing the biggest increases. 2% back on groceries and gas compounds when those categories climb. Every dollar matters. These strategies won't eliminate the $1,500 impact, but they can soften it. Financial resilience comes from small adjustments compounding over time. Remember, past tariff policies show that price increases tend to be permanent. Research from Harvard Business School confirms this stickiness. Planning accordingly protects your budget long term. The Fed's response will shape how this unfolds. Rate decisions affect mortgage rates, car loans, and credit card APRs. The central bank is watching these same numbers. If inflation exceeds forecasts, expect the Fed to hold rates higher for longer. That affects borrowing costs across the economy. Mortgage shoppers and car buyers take note. For mortgage holders on adjustable rates, this environment suggests locking into fixed rates if refinancing makes financial sense. Run the calculations with your specific numbers. The political dimension matters too. Tariff policy reflects broader trade strategy. But regardless of your political views, the math hits your budget the same way. Economists remain divided on long-term outcomes. Some argue domestic manufacturing will eventually benefit. Others see persistent consumer costs. The debate continues. What's not debatable is the near-term impact. The Tax Foundation's tariff tracker shows cumulative trade barriers reaching historic levels. Those costs flow through to prices. Supply chains are adapting, but adaptation takes years. Companies are exploring manufacturing shifts, new supplier relationships, and domestic alternatives. Those transitions cost money up front. If this kind of breakdown helps you make better financial decisions, hit subscribe. We analyze numbers like these every week so you don't have to dig through economic reports yourself. Now, let's put this in historical context. Tariff policy isn't new, but the scale and breadth of current measures exceed recent precedent. That's why the impact feels different. Previous tariff implementations targeted specific industries. Current policy affects broad categories simultaneously. The breadth amplifies the aggregate household impact. The Bureau of Labor Statistics will release new inflation data monthly. Each report will clarify whether tariff pass-through is accelerating, stabilizing, or exceeding forecasts. Track the Consumer Price Index reports. They tell you where inflation is actually running versus forecasts. Knowledge gives you time to adjust before prices hit. Set calendar reminders for CPI release dates. Mark the second week of each month. Being first to see the data lets you make purchasing decisions ahead of the crowd. Consumer behavior will also shape outcomes. If people accelerate purchases expecting price increases, that demand spike could push prices higher sooner. It's a self-fulfilling dynamic. Balance urgency with prudence. Panic buying rarely serves you well. Make deliberate choices based on your actual needs and financial position, not fear. Small businesses face their own pressures. Many lack the margin cushion of major retailers. If you value local shops, understand they may need to raise prices to survive. Supporting local businesses during price transitions matters for community economic health. Their higher prices often reflect the same tariff pressures affecting everyone. Consider negotiating on major purchases. Retailers facing slower sales may offer discounts to move inventory. Asking for a better price costs nothing, it could save you hundreds. Remember, this content is educational, not financial advice. Your situation is unique. Always consult qualified advisors before making major financial decisions. As Morningstar analysts note, inflation outlook depends heavily on how quickly businesses pass through remaining tariff costs. The absorption buffer is shrinking monthly. We'll continue tracking these numbers as new data releases. The picture will sharpen through 2026 as tariff pass-through plays out across product categories. Here's the bottom line. $1,500 is coming out of the average household budget this year through tariff-driven price increases. That's not opinion, it's Yale Budget Lab math. You can't control trade policy, but you can control how you respond. Accelerate necessary purchases, build your buffer, audit expenses, and stay informed. The numbers don't lie, but they do give you time to prepare. Use it wisely. I'm the host of Money Moves Daily. We'll see you next time.